The day it happened began like any other sweltering August morning, heavy with heat that clung to the air like a suffocating blanket. I had just finished my pre-dawn drills with the rookies at the Firefighter training center I managed, a pool designed not for leisure, but for survival. We trained young recruits in water rescue techniques, simulated helicopter drops, and taught kids in the community how to react if they ever fell into floodwaters. That pool wasn't just water and concrete. It was a lifeline, a classroom, a promise. And it sat right on the edge of a neighborhood ruled by a woman whose appetite for control made her infamous Karen, our HOA president. She was a mountain of a figure, always dressed in pastel suits too tight for her frame, marching around like a drill sergeant without the discipline. Karen loved nothing more than rules about grass length, trash placement, paint color. But most of all, she loved the power those rules gave her. For months, she had been grumbling about the training pool, insisting it was unsightly, lowering property values, and hogging city water. She filed complaints, pounded on my office door, even showed up during drills yelling at my recruits that they were trespassing in a residential zone. I tried to ignore her, but I underestimated how far her bitterness would go. That morning, when I returned after a quick supply run, my heart stopped cold. The pool was empty, not low, not leaking, completely drained. The concrete basin glared up at the sun, bone dry and cracked with heat, while a foul puddle of residue lingered at the bottom. The rescue dummies, the ropes, the training equipment all sat useless on the pool's floor like corpses after a massacre. I raced to the pump house and saw it. The valves had been pried open, the main drainage lines yanked until they burst. Standing there in the wreckage, arms crossed and face smug, was Karen. "You're welcome," she sneered, her lipstick smeared, her cheeks flushed with pride. "This eyesore is done. Our HOA board voted to remove it. Consider this a service to the neighborhood." My fists clenched so hard I thought my bones might snap. "You drained a firefighter training pool in the middle of fire season?" I barked. Her grin widened. "It's not my problem. You people waste water. I've seen you fill it over and over. While lawns dry up, you keep a swimming hole for your little games. Not anymore. It's gone." Couldn't breathe. I couldn't even speak. All I could see was the danger flashing in my mind's eye. Recruits without practice, families without flood safety lessons, lives we might not save because one arrogant woman decided she was above reason. I turned on my heel, stormed back to my truck, and pulled out my phone. The first call I made was to the city's emergency services office. I told them exactly what had happened. Their response was immediate outrage. "That pool is registered as part of our emergency training infrastructure," the director snapped. "Tampering with it is a criminal offense." He promised to dispatch inspectors. But I wasn't going to wait for the slow grind of bureaucracy. Lives were at stake every day we went without that training ground. That's when the plan hit me like a lightning bolt. I had spent years as a firefighter working disaster relief, battling wildfires, and more than once I had overseen water distribution from the city's emergency reserves. I knew exactly where the underground supply lines ran. And more importantly, I knew how to tap into them with the right equipment. Karen thought draining the pool was the end. She had no idea I could refill it in minutes. But before I acted, the twist unfolded in front of me. As I examined the drained pool again, a familiar voice called from the fence line. It was Jordan, a teenager from the neighborhood, one of the kids I had taught basic rescue drills to just months earlier. His face was pale, his voice shaking. "Mr. Miller," he whispered. "I saw her do it. She brought bolt cutters last night. She told the workers if they helped her drain it, she'd pay them cash." He handed me his phone with a shaky hand. On the screen was a video, grainy but clear enough. It showed Karen, in the dead of night, waddling around the pump house with a flashlight, barking orders at two men as they twisted the valves open. Her voice rang out, "Drain it all. I want it dry by morning." My pulse thundered. This wasn't just sabotage. This was premeditated destruction caught on tape. And now, with Jordan's evidence, I had the match that would ignite a firestorm. I didn't hesitate. That afternoon, while Karen lounged smugly on her porch, sipping lemonade like a queen surveying conquered land. I rolled up with a tanker truck borrowed from the city reserve. My recruits helped guide the hoses. With a roar, we opened the valves, and water surged back into the pool like a flood reclaiming stolen ground. Within minutes, the basin that had stood empty and mocking was full again, shimmering under the sun. Neighbors gathered, mouths open in disbelief, as the pool rebirthed itself before their eyes. Karen charged down her steps, screeching, "You can't do that! That's HOA property." I turned, water mist on my face, and let my voice cut through the crowd. "No, Karen. This pool belongs to the city, the firefighters, and every single life we're sworn to protect." "And you?" I held up Jordan's phone. Its screen frozen on her incriminating video, "are finished." The gasps from the crowd were thunderous. Phones came out, cameras clicked. Karen froze mid-step, her face draining of color as she realized her empire of intimidation was collapsing. She tried to lunge for the phone, but officers arrived right on cue. They had seen the live stream. Jordan had uploaded it to the neighborhood page while I worked. The chief inspector stepped forward, his voice icy. "Ma'am, you are under investigation for tampering with emergency infrastructure." Her screeches turned to shrill denials, her arms flailing as the officers led her away. Neighbors who once feared her now jeered openly. Someone shouted, "How many lives would you risk for your power trip, Karen?" Another added, "Shame on you." And as the pool filled to its brim, reflecting the light like a beacon, I knew this battle was far from over. The truth was exposed, but the real showdown, the courtroom, the reckoning, the collapse of everything she thought untouchable was still to come. The arrest of Karen was only the beginning. The real storm broke days later in the courthouse, where she strutted in wearing her stretched pastel suit like it was armor. Her arrogance hadn't left her, it had only been dented. She barked at the cameras flashing from local news crews, declaring, "I was saving water for the community," as if she had been some kind of hero. But her voice wavered, and everyone could see the panic beneath the paint of her makeup. The prosecutor wasted no time. They played the video Jordan had recorded, the late-night sabotage lit by her flashlight. The jury leaned forward as Karen's voice echoed through the courtroom. "Drain it all. I want it dry by morning." The footage was damning. Her attorney tried to argue it was taken out of context, that she was conducting maintenance. But when the inspector testified that the valves had been deliberately broken, causing damage to thousands of dollars worth of city property, her defense began to crumble. The most dramatic moment came when I was called to the stand. I told the jury about the purpose of that pool, how it trained recruits to save drowning victims, how it taught children what to do in flood emergencies, how every gallon in it represented a safeguard against tragedy. I described the morning I found it dry, the panic I felt, the lives I saw slipping through my fingers. And then I looked straight at Karen and said, "She didn't just drain water. She drained the chance for survival." Gasps filled the room. Karen flushed crimson, gripping her chair like it might anchor her against the tide of truth. Her lawyer objected, but the judge waved it off. The words had landed. Then came the twist that silenced even Karen's denials. Miguel, the subcontractor who had quietly told me about Gerald's fraud months before, appeared in this case as well. Turns out, Karen had hired him once for landscaping, and he stepped forward with new evidence. Bounce checks, handwritten notes demanding quiet work at night, and a voicemail where she bragged about taking care of the firefighter pool problem once and for all. It wasn't just sabotage anymore. It was a deliberate conspiracy to cripple community safety. The jury took less than 2 hours to deliver the verdict. Guilty of criminal tampering, guilty of destruction of emergency infrastructure, guilty of endangering public safety. When the judge delivered the sentence, his voice was cold steel. "Karen, you believed yourself untouchable. You drained what wasn't yours and put lives at risk to satisfy your arrogance. You will serve 6 months in county jail, pay restitution for damages, and perform 500 hours of community service under the supervision of the very firefighters you tried to sabotage." Her scream echoed through the chamber, a shrill wail that dissolved into incoherent sobs. She had ruled the HOA with fines and threats, but here, Stripped of her power, she was just another criminal. Neighbors in the gallery exchanged looks of stunned relief. Some even clapped before the judge banged his gavel for silence. The story didn't end there. As word spread, the pool became a symbol, not just of firefighter training but of community resilience. Local families donated funds to upgrade it, new rescue dummies, improved filtration, even a shaded area for kids' safety workshops. What Karen had tried to erase became stronger than ever, a living monument to the power of standing up against arrogance. The most powerful moment came weeks later during Karen's community service. Dressed in an orange vest, face flushed from humiliation, she was ordered to clean the very sidewalks leading to the training facility. Children she once scolded for running too loud now walked by, pointing at her, whispering. My recruits jogged past in full gear, nodding at me with pride. She kept her head down, muttering under her breath, but everyone could see it. The mighty HOA president reduced to a spectacle of shame. For me, the true victory wasn't watching her fall. It was watching the community rise. Parents brought their kids to watch training sessions, cheering when a rookie nailed a rescue drill. Neighbors once divided by her petty fines now worked together, organizing fundraisers and community cookouts on the training grounds. Even Jordan, the teen whose courage exposed her crime, joined our junior volunteer program. He told me quietly, I never thought standing up to her would actually matter. I smiled at him and said, that's how change begins, with one person refusing to stay quiet. And in the stillness of the evenings, when I sit by the refilled pool and hear the splash of recruits practicing, I think about how close we came to losing it all. One woman's arrogance nearly stripped us of something sacred. But in the end, the truth drowned her schemes, and justice poured back stronger than ever. Karen thought draining the pool would end its purpose. Instead, it ended her reign. So I ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have exposed her with evidence and action, or would you have confronted her quietly and risked it slipping away? Was I right to make her downfall public, or should justice have stayed behind closed doors? Share your thoughts, because this isn't just about Karen. It's about every community that needs the courage to stand up when someone endangers lives for pride.